Live. Okay. Was I doing anything embarrassing? Excellent.
Just talking about all the embarrassing stuff.
Right.
I mean, you know, yeah. Well, honestly, like we were having a pretty great conversation.
Let's
So that's
just
kind
keep
of
it going.
welcome to Ihkc Live. Very, very glad to be with you here today and extremely excited to have with us Kevin McGinnis, who is the leader of the Keystone Innovation District. And then we have an exciting announcement that's coming up. We're going to be, you know, talking about some fun stuff there. But first things first, we'd like to thank and say hello to our executive producer, Cynthia Fail. Say hi, Cynthia. Smart ass. But Cynthia will be kind of our voice of goddess, as we call her. So if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts or comments, definitely make sure to pop those out to us in the comments. Cynthia will read them. We want to get you in on the conversation. But first things first, we've got quirky questions, and I don't have them picked out yet. So I'm just going to be doing this on the fly. And let me find an interesting one. Okay, here's a good one. If you could be best friends with a fictional character, who would you want to be best friends with?
Ooh, wow. You know, somebody asked me a similar question years ago about like which fictional character would you want to be? So I think I might go with that same one.
Okay.
James Bond.
Whoa. All right. Tell us the why.
Well, I mean, resourceful, you know, always trying to solve problems, big, you know, like planet killing problems. You know, always just has that kind of air of confidence and calmness about him. I don't know, just it was either that or you know, what's the series? Jason Bourne. Like those are like to me.
You want to be friends with like a badass.
I've been watching a lot of
You
Yellowstone
really
lately, and
do.
it just, you know.
Okay. So that so is that kind of the lifestyle that you're shooting for? Or you just think that they're cool people?
No, I just would want to be friends. I don't. To me, the who do you want to be was Jason Bourne. Like, who would you want to be friends with? I mean, who'd want to be friends with James Bond, the international man of mystery?
Do you like your martinis shaken, not stirred?
Shaken, not stirred.
That's
I say
really
that in bars
important.
sometimes.
Do you
Yeah,
really?
I mean, I do sometimes.
Do the bartenders laugh at you?
They do every single time.
Okay.
Well, the only ones who
fair.
get it. Like now, it's as I get older, less of them.
People don't know shake it. Oh, all right. Some context for our younger viewers.
I just asked. As a matter of fact, on New Year's Eve, I said that to a bartender. I said, "Shaken and not stirred, please." And he goes, "Well, does it make it taste different?" I was like,
"Oh, you don't understand."
It's all good.
James Bond preferred his martinis shaken, not stirred, and it was a very like classy, masculine thing to say. Like I think I'm pretty sure that I've said it at bars too, though. It kind of makes you feel cool. You should definitely try it. All right. So hold on. Oh shit! Yeah. I have to answer it. Okay, so I do kind of have an answer to this, or already have an answer to this question. But when I was a kid, I always wanted to be best friends with the character's name is Dickon, and he's a character in The Secret Garden, which I read a ton when I was a little kid. But Dickon was best friends with all the animals. Like he had a little squirrel that he had carried around in his pocket, and he had a bird that would sit on his shoulder. And like I've always loved animals. I've always, you know, had a big affinity for them. I mean, some of you may know, like I have wildlife in my own home. I have a couple of possum pets. And I've always loved animals. So I always wanted to be really good friends with Dickon and like, teach me your ways, sir. I want to be Snow White with the animals coming to me. So that is my answer.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to rethink mine now a little bit. Like, who's the guy who talked to the animals?
Definitely Dr. Dolittle. But you definitely have a cooler answer.
I just think, I mean, he's seen so much. He's done so much.
Yeah,
he's been different actors. So,
and I mean, you know, he's got resources and money. You could travel around, have a good time. You know, as people all across the world. Like, he would be a good person to be friends with as long as people weren't trying to, you know, like murder you. Yeah. Okay.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Okay. So it's January.
Yes.
We're coming fresh out of gift giving season. And I want to know, what is the best gift that you have ever received in your entire life? Ever.
Oh, man.
It's an easy one for me. It's kind of cheesy, though. My oldest daughter was born on December 27th.
Oh, Oh,
So Kylie is the
is that
best.
the one that I met?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So Kylie is the best the best present I've ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're gonna have her watch this, right? You're
I
gonna
hope
get
so.
dad points.
Yeah, I hope so. I need him.
Okay, that is a great question. But to be perfectly honest with you, like mine was probably, all right, this is so dumb. I got a futon from my parents when I was like, I think I was like 17. And that doesn't seem like a super cool gift, but it was like it was the first like significant piece of furniture I had ever owned. And it was also like the promise of like, you're going to go off to college, you're going to have a dorm room, take this futon. It's really, I still have that damn futon. We still use it. Like it was really good quality. And like, I used it as a couch in my first apartment. So I think like when I first got it, I did not appreciate how awesome it was. But now like with the perspective of age and the fact that I still actively use it, I'm like, that was a really great present.
Hey, if you've got a couch that
Super
folds out into a bed, yeah,
like
for sure.
it's comfortable, it's cute, you know, and I was just, so I very much appreciate it now. And that was the first thing that, I'm sure I've gotten cooler stuff, but that was the first thing that popped into my head.
Super symbolic, not dumb at all.
Okay, there you go. It was like new beginnings, and then now it's just nostalgic, like, remember way back when you didn't have money? And then I'm like, that's still the case. Okay, all right. Well, so I do have a serious question. We were going to do two sillies and a serious. And here's my serious question. And Cynthia, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to make you answer too. You ready?
Sure.
What
Going after Kevin.
Okay, fair. I am going after all. I'm waiting for both of you. I'm hedging my bets. What is the meaning of life to you?
Ooh,
Loaded.
I've spent a lot of time thinking about things like this. I don't know that specific question is always the one, but to me, it's I don't know that there is. I think that's the meaning. That's the answer.
Okay.
It's a journey, but there doesn't need to be like a meaning, or like each person doesn't need to be defined by a meaning or a purpose, because you might have, depends on your phase of life. It depends on kind of who you are in general. I mean, I just think,
yeah.
I don't know, I've been watching these National Geographic series on like, you know, this, what is it? The Unusual Rock thing, the Will Smith series. And it talks about how the planet was created and how delicate the balance of our, you know, atmosphere and everything is. And it's got me thinking, I don't know that we're supposed to be here. Like this could be an accident that we're all here. So,
yeah.
I mean, so is the meaning that we're all just like result of an accident?
We're all just dumb animals existing on a crust, hurtling through space.
I guess I look at it as like it's what you it's whatever you make it. Right?
Yeah. No, I like that. And I like that your version allows for nuance, because I think when people ask this question, like you want to come to like the one singular answer for everyone, but the fact is like that's not possible. You know, all right, I'm going to go super geeky with it. So if you understand this reference, let's be besties. But 42 is the meaning of life. So that's actually, it's from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Douglas Adams wrote about that. And, you know, in a world where mice overlords are kind of controlling our actions, they say 42 is the meaning of life. And when asked, like, well, that doesn't seem like the right answer, and the mice say, well, you're asking the wrong question. And I think that's really interesting. Cynthia, how about you?
Goodness.
It's a lot.
This is a heavy one.
I mean, it can be you personally. It doesn't have to be like an overarching everyone thing.
Well, I can only answer it for me. I can't answer it for everybody else. So I think for me, the meaning of life is, I feel like we are here to learn as much as we can.
Yeah.
To contribute as much as we can and want to help advance life.
Yeah.
And I think each and every one of us has a gift that we can give to the world, and it's going to look totally different for me than it does for Kevin, than it does for you, Lauren. And I think part of our goal is to figure out what that gift is.
Yeah.
And then to find a way to live within that gift and do so in a way that inspires others to live in their gifts.
Find a way to live in that gift. For those of you who don't know, that's actually what Cynthia does all day, every day with her company, Launch Crate Publishing. Your job is to help people kind of realize their their publishing dreams, right? Kevin, you do it on the entrepreneurial side. Like, how can we make an ecosystem stronger and make it easier for people to live their purpose?
For sure. I'm a big fan of a movie called The Jerk. If you haven't seen it, you should, right?
Steve Martin, right?
Yeah, Steve
Yeah,
Martin.
yeah.
And he always talks about finding a special purpose. If you've ever seen the movie, you understand the reference. But yeah, everybody needs to find their special purpose.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I like that. I'm going to steal Cynthia's answer. No, I mean, like, the thing that resonated with me is like that growth piece. Like, I think that a meaning that can be applied to everyone, like, just continue to stay curious and keep growing and keep moving forward and keep trying to either, you know, make a difference in someone's life, your own life, someone you love's life. I mean, that's kind of what it's all about to me, which is very, like, it's a very vague answer, but it is my answer nonetheless. All right, so that was our serious question. Right. And now you're in the hot seat. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do
okay.
this.
So first things first, I'm just going to ask you to give us kind of like the 10,000-foot view of what you do, my friend.
Sure. I am the currently the leader of an organization called the Keystone Community Corporation. We're a nonprofit that is planning, developing, and operating an innovation community in downtown Kansas City. And our goal is really, how do you bring people together through placemaking and programming to create a more vibrant, diverse, and thriving innovation community in Kansas City. And hopefully the outcomes are, you know, economic prosperity and economic growth for the region by bringing resources into a fixed place. But our, I think, bent on that, our kind of special twist on that is, how do we ensure that this community that we're developing, that this innovation ecosystem and this greater innovation economy for our region is, for maybe the first time in our nation's history, as inclusive as possible. So innovation for everyone, and not just innovation for those who have. Anytime we've created innovation density, typically it creates greater income segregation. So how can we ensure that we have the most amazing innovation community in the country, but that it also is accessible, welcoming, and available to everyone who wants to be a part of it?
Yeah. Well, and I love that. And so I remember, I want to say it was during a GEW that may have even been here at PlexPod, but this was years ago, pre-pandemic. It was right across the way. It was the first time you and I knew each other vaguely, but it was the first time that I had ever heard you speak about Keystone Innovation District. And one of the things that I want to say Malika Robinson and Rick Usher were like on this panel discussion with you, and we were talking about innovation districts and oh my gosh, what is the other phrase? Can't remember, but that was a piece of the conversation from like very early on in your growth trajectory. Like, how do we make this inclusive? How do we make sure that we are talking to people on the ground? So I've always loved that. Talk to us about some of the benefits that you've seen. I know that you spent a lot of time doing research and like benchmarking against other communities. I mean, innovation districts, this is not a new, it's a kind of new concept, but it's not like it's a completely original idea. Your approach is original, but we've seen benefit in creating these pockets and hotspots of innovation. Geographic place can often lead to greater collaboration. What are some of the other benefits that you've seen in other communities?
Yeah, I want to touch on something you said kind of in that question though first.
Yeah.
Which is, it's not an original idea. There's no desire for this to be an original idea. The trick to it in a city is every one of these has to be unique to its place.
Yeah.
So even though it's something that's been done in, 25 to 30 other cities around the country and even more around the globe, it has to be unique in each city, because you have unique assets, unique people, unique focus areas, and unique things that you can build around, whether they're the institutions, the universities, the segments, the sectors, the trade, organizations that you're focusing on, those types of things. So I just wanted to start off by saying that, because when you then go back and you look at kind of the outcomes that you hope for, can you create an exponentially larger pool of new venture creations? So startups. Can we go from having, the number of startups we have to maybe 5x, even 10x that number of startups that are focused on kind of innovation, high growth opportunities, which really become a long-term catalyst for economic growth in the region. 2, research commercialization, right? That's a big part of this. So how do you take, whether it's private research, whether it's university research, how do you ensure that gets to market in a way that economic benefit is captured within your region? Too much of it like leaks out and is commercialized by companies that aren't here. So for example, if University of Missouri Kansas City is doing research and the research lead decides that they want to find a way to commercialize that, take it to market, unfortunately, it might be done by a company in Seattle or a company in Tampa, Florida, or a company in Phoenix, Arizona, and the economic benefit of that research that happened here isn't captured by its citizens. So innovation districts are one of the primary designs for them is to try to capture that. That's kind of a longer term opportunity for us.
Yeah.
We're still in that very early kind of placemaking stage. So for us, the outcomes we look at right now is our ability through our placemaking initiatives, things like Keystone Sessions, our ability to make connections, our ability for people who wouldn't otherwise meet, know, collaborate, work with each other. Are we creating a place where those people can find each other?
Yeah.
And that's really kind of the early outcomes that we look at.
Yeah. Well, and I think pretty early on, Kevin and I, we just kind of determined the fact that Innovate Her and Keystone, there's a lot of alignment. Like, I mean, our tactics are different, our lenses are different, but the fact is, like, Innovator, we believe that by creating these serendipitous collisions, by creating opportunities and a platform, like, we don't do the work. We're not going to help you cultivate relationships. We're going to create grace and space, Cynthia would say, for you to find those people who can become a part of your circles and find the mentors, find the customers, find the advocates, find the people who can support you in your journey. And really, innovation districts, to me, they're just kind of an extension of the same idea. You're taking not just people, but certainly people, but also organizations and entities that are doing really exciting things, and you're just creating mass. You're creating opportunity. Density is sorry, that's the word. You're creating density. You're creating more opportunity for those collisions and that convenience of collaboration. That's a lot of C's.
There's a philosophy we talk about that kind of guides the innovation principles. It's called the Medici effect. And it's a book that was written by a guy, Franz Johansson, maybe 17 years ago. And it's based off of the
Renaissance,
the old Medici family from Florence, Italy, and the idea that they brought all of these different skills, different interests, different expertise. They brought them together in this palazzo in Florence, Italy. Sculptors, artists, chefs, biologists, scientists, astronomers, and they put them all together. And from that was the birthplace of the Great Renaissance.
Yeah.
And the idea is if you can get diverse thinkers, diverse people, diverse interests together, it creates an explosion of new ideas. And that explosion then creates even more new ideas that come from that. And that's really the guiding principle of an innovation district, is if you can create that density, you create that explosion of new
That's
ideas.
right.
So,
that's exactly right. That's why, like, I know I keep on like bringing it back to Innovate Her, but I'm like, yeah, we're on the Innovator channel. So
we should. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's my prerogative. Come along on the journey. But Innovator is industry agnostic for exactly that reason. Like, some of the collaborations that we see take place are things that happen between people who otherwise we're pretty confident they wouldn't have met, and they wouldn't have been able to avail themselves of different ideas. A while back, we did an event with some nonprofits, and we wanted to have funders in the room. We wanted to have nonprofit leaders in the room, but we also, I invited entrepreneurs, and I invited like people from different sectors, because sometimes when you exist within a silo and you exist within a very specific industry and vertical, you get that tunnel vision. Like, this is my experience, this is my knowledge. Once you introduce other people to the equation who bring new lenses and perspectives, you get better ideas, because you can hone in on pieces of the idea that you wouldn't have otherwise, maybe you wouldn't have even examined that carefully. So I find the whole concept fascinating. Now, I do want to ask you, like, we've talked about that inclusivity piece. Mm-hmm. I know that that's super important to you. That's super important. It's one of Innovator's like foundational values. Mm-hmm. One of the things that you're doing is Keystone Sessions.
Right.
And I know you said that you were working on that as the placemaking component of what you're doing. So I want to hear a little bit more about that and how the Keystone Sessions kind of builds into it. But then talk about how you're applying that inclusive lens.
Yeah, so I think it all starts with kind of the place that we create. right? So if it's a placemaking initiative, you have to ensure that the place is welcoming and that you've not created, kind of the physical obstacles. So that's one of the reasons that the location for the Keystone District was selected. Its central location, the original concept for the district was really Troost Avenue kind of ran through the middle of it. And that was not just symbolic, but it was very intentional in terms of how can you bring together, kind of the power of the crossroads, the power of the historical 18th and Vine Cultural District. How can you bring the power of these communities together to create kind of that place? So first is the physical design, the physical place.
Yeah.
I think from a programming perspective, it's been important for us to have the right partners and have the right communities leading what we're doing. And that's, my partnership with Craig Moore has been transformational for the initiative.
I love Craig so much. It's ridiculous.
Who doesn't, right? Like, he's just a good guy.
So who is Craig?
So Craig Moore he's got two roles. So he's the founding managing director for an organization called Black Excellence KC. And they are focused on the talent side of Black people in Kansas City. How do we elevate? How do we go from living wage to thriving wage? How do we help people promote in their career paths and provide access and visibility to other opportunities for them? And so that's been just a fantastic partnership. And then he also runs an organization called Venture for America. He's the community director for the Kansas City chapter of Venture for America, which is another great connection for us as we build out this community. So, I mean, it starts with intentionality, right? Then it goes into kind of governance and leadership, and we have a diverse board. We have when we bring leadership in and partners in, we ensure that they adhere to the mission and they understand the purpose. And then it goes into kind of the programming, placemaking, the more, I think, detail-oriented physical sides of what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. Well, so Venture for America, for those of you who don't know, that is an organization that seeks to bring high-performing, qualified, really, really talented recent college grads and place them within startups within cities across the country. And so they have different chapters. So you've got students, recent grads, I guess I should say, but like young folk that you're reaching out to. You've got, Craig leading Black Excellence, which is a fantastic organization. You should definitely check it out. And also, Craig, like just a little side note, Craig is probably one of the most happy, fun people to be around. Like, he just has the best smile. Like, every time we hop on a phone call, and like I interviewed him for the Startup Hustle podcast, I was like, man, his energy is just infectious. So definitely check it out. So we have engaged a couple of different communities here. Mm-hmm. Talk to us about women, and this is an announcement.
Yeah. So when we talk, I think oftentimes when we talk about inclusion, especially today, we get very focused on, racial diversity, and we forget, and I think because we've been trying to do this for so long that I think some people feel like it's done. Some people feel like it's already been accomplished. But how do we ensure that the tech community, the innovation community is full of women, and is full of women who have amazing ideas, amazing leadership qualities, and really promote the amazing work, the innovation, and the contributions that women can make and do make in an innovation community. And so for us, I think the partnership is something that I've been after for a while.
I know, like, it's one of those things that, like, every time we get together, we're like, we should have coffee, we should talk about this. And then we finally like sat down and we were like, no, let's really talk about this.
Yeah, we do our best to, I cast that net to include those stories. A lot of, you asked kind of the outcomes and some of the things that we try to do in an innovation district. And one of the main ones, and I kind of skipped over it, because it's why we do sessions right now, is how do you make innovation visible, right? Like, there's so many amazing things that happen in Kansas City, and we have a lot of organizations that try to elevate those things, but oftentimes they get elevated into their own even siloed communities. So like great architectural things often get elevated in the architectural community, and more architects and designers and construction, architecture, engineering people know about them, but the general populace doesn't, right? They don't know why they're important and what they are. And that's just an example. I think one of the things that we want to do is try to make that innovation visible. And I think there are so many innovators. There are so many people doing amazing things. Yeah. And I think your organization has a great lens on that. And if we can help elevate those stories and help connect people to, make that impact greater through what we're doing with Keystone and what we're doing with Keystone Sessions, then, I'm all for it.
Yeah,
100%.
same. And I mean, honestly, like I view it as my job and my privilege to create those opportunities. One of the biggest things that Innovator does, and one of the most impactful things, also one of the easiest things that Innovator does, is that we place a lot of value on that storytelling aspect. How can we, and that championship thing, it's why we do the Startup Hustle podcast. It's why we do social media spotlights. It's why we do so much on social in general, because it is imperative that if we're going to normalize, women in technology or whatever it is, if we're going to normalize it, we have to talk about it and we have to showcase it. And we have to make sure that we are highlighting the pioneers and the groundbreakers first, and then the folks who are, they're doing the deal every day. And the innovators, y'all are doing the deal every day. We're so proud of you. But yeah, like when Kevin and I started talking, I always knew, like, you were always a guy that I was aware of. I'm pretty sure that I applied for a job at Pinsight Media, like way back in the day, by the way. I did not get it. But you had been on my radar. You had been on my radar for a long time. And when I heard about like innovation district opportunity zones, that's the word I was looking for, by the way.
Zones, yep.
But when I first started learning about them, I was like, what an exciting opportunity. And so I've kind of been following with interest. And then we sat down and I was like, I just, not only me, but like, I know so many innovators, so many of our members who would love to be a meaningful part of this story. And so now we're kind of embarking on this journey where we might get to do that. We have an event coming up.
That's right.
And I cannot remember. You're going to have to tell me. Is it the 25th?
25th.
Wednesday,
the 25th.
Wednesday. So Wednesday, the 25th, we are working on an event. I do have to finalize a couple little details here and there, but we should be posting about it soon. But we're talking about the living history of women, and particularly through that Kansas City lens. I kind of it's an event that I've wanted to do for a long time, where we talk to like different generations of women and say, tell us about your experiences. Are things getting better? Where did we start? Where are we going? Wanted to have that conversation, but I specifically wanted to do it with Keystone because you came to me and you were like, hey, come up with some ideas for like events that we could co-brand and do together. And I was like, I've got this one that I really, really want to do. And I kind of want it to be like our kickoff because it's very meaningful to me. I think about the history, like it's really funny. So there's this award in Kansas City called the Athena Award. There's a Young Athena Award and there's an Athena Award. I don't want to say the Old Athena Award because people get like upset. But I was nominated, went to this thing, and all of the women who had been nominated for the Athena Award were very, they were very aware of the young Athenas, and they kept on talking about the fact that, like, thank you for carrying on the work. Thank you for doing the work that you do. It's so exciting to see so many young women come to the forefront and do this work. And I was like, well, that's really great. Thank you. But throughout my entire career, and in particular in my work with Innovator, one of the things that I am just so cognizant and aware of, the only reason I can do the work that I do and that Innovator can do the work that Innovator does is because of those who came before. I mean, just centuries of brave, courageous human beings saying, I expect equity and justice and visibility and the opportunity to do the things that I'm good at and the things that I love. And that's very meaningful to me. And so this event coming up on the 25th, like, I definitely hope that you come check it out. I'm very excited about it. We've got some really amazing women who have signed on to take part, who represent different generations. And I'm hoping to have a really meaningful discussion around what it has been like, not just to be a woman, a professional woman on the rise, but specifically a Kansas City woman. What happened in your career that made you confident or made you second guess yourself? What challenges, what successes? Let's have that conversation. Let's hopefully do it in a fun, enlightening way.
Right.
But let's do it with Keystone, an organization that is also committed to inclusion and equity and having these kinds of conversations.
I think I love that. And I think the power of what we're trying to do with Keystone Sessions is really, so that conversation I know will be fantastic. I know will be, eye-opening and very,
I certainly hope so.
Inspirational for a lot of people. But there's 2 other audiences that are there that night. Right?
Yeah.
And so there's a session before it and a session after it.
Right.
And that's the whole point, is that not just the audience that's coming to hear that opportunity and hear those stories, but the ones who are coming to hear the other stories are going to hear that story as well. And that's the power of what we're trying to do with sessions, is really, I always tell people, if you go to a BioNexus event, you see all life sciences people. If you go to a Ihkc Global Design event, you see all Ihkc Global Design, architecture, engineering. How do we create really a connection across communities, across creative class, across innovation and technology, across entrepreneurs and philanthropists? And so I think, thank you for being willing to do this.
Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity and the platform.
And it's an opportunity for those stories to, again, get beyond the walls that they might typically be heard, the channels that they might typically be heard and typically be appreciated. Since we've started sessions, we've had so many people who have come up to Craig or I and have talked about the connections, the business relationships, didn't know this person and now we're off doing this thing. That's the point, right? That's what we're trying to do. So I'm really excited that you guys are going to be a part of what we're building with sessions.
I'm really excited too. Cynthia, are you excited? Cynthia's very excited. Actually, you should be on the panel.
You might just got you got a panel.
I'm gonna get you. She just gave me a thumbs up and a cheesy ass smile. I know she's like, you dumb bitch. Like, I just know. Cynthia, how would you feel about taking part in the conversation? Do we have any questions, friends? Don't forget, if you have questions for Kevin, if you have questions about Ihkc, Keystone Sessions, please put them in the comments. Our voice of goddess is ready and waiting to take your credit card. No, I'm just kidding. But she will be letting us know. Do we have anything?
No questions.
Well, that is odd. I don't.
So I dropped a question.
Yeah.
In the comments, and then you asked the question that I dropped in the comments. So
No way.
there we go.
Are we just like
That's
you
scary.
and me?
Yeah,
Like we're on the
scary.
same wavelength?
Yeah.
I love you so. This is why I love you so much.
So can we talk a little bit about what Sessions is?
Yes.
So when we started, Keystone, and when we got our first location this year, so we went from PowerPoint document to actually kind of in a place. Placemaking is a huge deal. I don't know if people remember when they used to do I say used to, like it happened 25 years ago, when they used to do concerts out at the Riverfront, at the Riverfront Plaza. That was actually done by the developer who was getting ready to build the Berkeley Riverfront Plaza, because they wanted people to understand that was a place, understand how to get there, understand kind of the vibe out there on the riverfront. So when they did build apartments and they did build a place out there, it would be something that people were familiar with. So that's the concept of placemaking. So we were trying to come up with a way that we could do placemaking specifically for the innovation community and create these intersections, but also on a regular, consistent basis, bring people to the place. Right. And bring as many diverse groups to the place as possible, so they were at least aware of what we were doing. So Keystone Sessions was, again, shamelessly stolen from something that somebody else has done in another city, but just customized it for Kansas City. It was modeled after a program called Venture Cafe. It was originated in Boston and was extended to St. Louis and then to Miami.
They've got a big one in St. Louis, don't they?
They did, yeah.
Incidentally, St. Louis has an innovation district all its very own called Cortex.
Yep.
Check it out. It's interesting.
Absolutely. And so this program, it's a weekly networking event, and I hesitate to call it networking, but that's really, it's a weekly intersection, a weekly collision event. It's held from 4 to 8 every Wednesday. It's built around free food and beverage. So we source beverages from the East Crossroads Alcohol Producers, which is the group of breweries and distilleries that are just to our east in the East Crossroads, or just to our west in the East Crossroads. And then we cater food from a different place every week. And then it's at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and at 7 o'clock, we run what are called sessions. And a session can be a featured presentation by an expert in something. It can be a fireside chat. So like this Wednesday, we're doing a fireside chat called Founder Stories with a founder here in Kansas City. And then—
Can you tell us who?
Yeah, Liederman Dwayne from Blue Point 2.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so he'll be doing Founder Stories with us this Wednesday.
Awesome.
And then, or it can be a panel, right? And so the idea is bring 3 different audiences into the space around food and beverage, give people the social lubricant and a reason to connect with people that they wouldn't otherwise have met or otherwise encountered, and really just create a safe space, a place where people feel comfortable sharing their ideas. It's not just about networking. It's really about like, how can we come solve problems? How can we come talk about issues? So that's how Keystone Sessions was started.
Yeah.
Now, 3 sessions a week for 50 weeks a year, that's a lot of content. So for us, we can talk about what a Keystone is, but for us to be a Keystone, it's really about how do we bring these other organizations and these other things, how do we optimize the ecosystem through the amazing work that others are doing? And so that's why partnerships, you're in our, the Innovate Her relationship, Innovate Her KC will be one of our community presenters, right? And so that's the goal, is how do we bring our community presenters in and let them provide the content, because we shouldn't be the ones that are curating all the content and all the messaging. We should let people focus on their stories and their narratives and bring those into the room at the same time.
Well, and I love that because again, like, you've created a platform, but then given organizations like Innovate Her, Black Excellence, VFA, the agency to create the kind of content that's going to best reflect that organization. So I really dig that. One of the things that you said that I found really, really interesting, you were talking, well, actually, nope, I'm going to back it up. I'm going to say something else. So first, you mentioned that there's like the 5 o'clock, the 6 o'clock, and the 7 o'clock hour. And like, I mean, that's a lot, and so I want to be really, really clear. Like, if you come, you're not obligated to stay the whole time.
Nope.
But I think we would love it if you did, because as you said, and as I have seen demonstrated, like, you're bringing together very, in some ways, seemingly divergent topic areas and areas of interest, like each night that you have a series of sessions.
Yep.
And so you're bringing in these different audiences, but I actually like that's part of the appeal, and that's part of the draw. The fact that, like, so I think I went to one and I did not stay for all 3. My bad. I think it was during GEW actually, but there was a, like, John Thompson, you and
Jeff Eden.
There you go.
Yep.
We're having like a very kind of tech-led, tech-enabled startup journey conversation on the one hand, and then Craig had a session where he was talking to, like, Janae, and he was talking to Lewis Bird and a couple other founders about specifically, like, building equity and building on Black communities and entrepreneurship, and like, that was super cool. And I don't remember what the third one was, but like, you had all of these people who were attracted to their particular area of interest, but we all came together and we got to see each other and we got to connect and we got to learn a little bit about something that maybe we didn't know a lot about. Like, I didn't actually go intending to watch the tech one.
Usually people don't.
But I showed up and I was like, oh, hey, this is actually really interesting. And what was super cool is there were so many pieces that were relevant to my story, even though I don't lead a tech forward organization. Like, I mean, tech is tangentially related, but we're not selling a tech product. But there were still so many pieces of the founder journey that I could benefit from. You're
live streaming a conversation on social media. I would put you in the tech enabled.
I mean, a little
organization category.
Cynthia's like, yeah. I don't know. Basically, like,
I was using tech to expand your reach.
So we're tech. All right, tech forward is fine. We don't have a tech product that we're selling. All right. Do you got something, my friend?
Rochelle Walker.
Yay!
Has tapped in. She said, "Hello, Lauren and Kevin. What are the topics for this week?"
Oh Lord. What are the topics for this week? Well, so the living history of women. That's like what I'm calling it.
I think that's awesome.
In my head. I don't know. It's whatever. I felt like I could come up with a sexier name, but everybody else seems to think it's fine. But yeah, again, just talking to women in Kansas City of different generations about their experiences as professional, engaged, high-performing human beings. Like, what did you, specifically through the gender lens, I want to be really clear. That is something that we're going to be talking about a lot, but just kind of talking about how do we build and how do we scaffold learning around equity for professional women? That's the question at hand. And then what else you got?
I think we're going to talk about sessions, which we just did. We're going to talk about
so you mean this week on, like, the sessions topics,
or what are the
Wednesday?
Sessions topics for this Wednesday? Oh
yeah.
No, I'm sorry. So
And the link to register is not working, she said that.
Oh, no.
Just
all right, I'll fix that when I get back to the office. No, so this week, the first one, so we're starting a new series this week called the Workshop Series. And this is intense. So one of the, as we put content now, we did this for 6 months in 2022. So we got a lot of feedback. All good and all very useful. And one of the things was some of the most useful content that we put out there is more instructional content where an expert gets up and describes how to do something, right? And is specifically around the entrepreneurial community. So whether it's sales, marketing, HR, legal, influencer marketing, all of those types of topics. How do we provide access to experts that can help people in kind of 45-minute workshop type curate ideas for how they can improve, grow their business. And so we're kicking off something called the Workshop Series this week. So Trendsetters, Jake's organization, is actually going to do a monthly series on influencer marketing. So Amanda, one of their experts, one of the original TikTok influencers actually, is going to be talking about how to I forget what the exact title of the session is, but that's the first one is Workshop Series. The second one is Founder Stories with Lederman. And so he's going to talk about his founding story, how he invented his product, how he started his company, the challenges and opportunities he sees, raising capital. And that Founder Stories is really an opportunity for us to share the narratives and really inspire or educate people on how to improve their own journeys. And then the 7 o'clock session is actually our lovely Craig Moore is doing a session called WTF is BXKC. And so this is his opportunity. So he's made some, I think, tremendous strides in kind of framing up what 2023 looks like for Black Excellence Kansas City. And he's going to talk about how was the organization founded? What is it? What's its purpose? And where is it headed? And who is it going to be focused on helping in 2023? So he's going to get up and kind of lay out the strategic roadmap at 7 o'clock.
Well, so I love that. And I would absolutely love to hear Lederman, Craig, like any of these individuals speak. We'll also add, we love to shout out folks who leave comments and ask questions. Rochelle Walker would be a fantastic addition to the workshop sessions piece. Incidentally, Rochelle is one of our very active, avid members, comes to a lot of our events. You should definitely check out Hughes Walker Group if you need help with accounting. And then they recently launched an educational component that Rochelle's been pretty excited about. So definitely check that out. That is Walker Hughes. Rochelle Walker. She is a fantastic founder, one of our faves. So
can I say a couple things about that?
Yeah.
So not specifically about Rochelle or her business, but like one of the things that we got in the workshop series when we were thinking about creating it was the feedback of, well, we don't want this to be about service providers. Well, it's interesting because the feedback we get from entrepreneurs is when we ask them what resources they want access to, a lot of it is fractional resources.
Yeah.
I can't hire a CFO, so I need someone who can help me understand, or a company that can take this on part-time. I can't do sales. I'm not going to hire a CSO or a CRO yet. I'm not big enough, so I need someone who maybe can be a fractional salesperson.
Yeah.
So part of this is provide instructional content, but also let's elevate awareness of those organizations that are there to support our entrepreneurial community and do it in an instructional way. So that's part of what the workshop series is all about, is promoting businesses like Rochelle's and helping connect entrepreneurs who are looking to solve problems with organizations that can help them do that, especially in that kind of environment. The other thing I would say is ideas@keystonedistrict.org. If you are interested in having a session, or
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. If you're interested if you're a corporation that has an innovation story, if you're an entrepreneur that wants to tell their story, if you're a service provider or anybody who has information that you think would be relevant, please send us a note at ideas@keystonedistrict.org, and we kind of catalog those through and go through and find slots for them and get them into sessions. Because again, this is really about curating others' content, not us providing all of it.
Yeah, no, and I love that, like allowing people to shine and do what they do best. Well, so that actually, it kind of leads nicely into yet another question, but like, how are some ways that we can support Keystone Innovation District, Keystone Sessions, beyond just, applying to be the talents? What are some things that we can do to help you along in your mission?
Sure, I appreciate that. And we get asked that question by folks, and there's a couple easy answers, and I say easy. Anytime that you're doing community development, part of the challenge in community development is just show up.
Yeah.
I mean, and so when people say, how can I help?
Hmm.
Just show
Yeah.
up. I mean, that's really, and I'm always
Follow,
amazed.
like, comment, subscribe, get your butt in the seats, like all of those things.
Yeah, and for us, it's, you know, we're not an events organization, but we hold events. So show up, connect with someone, and if you come, you know, be open to connecting with someone. It's an opportunity to share your problem, share your story, share your solution, and get feedback from other folks. It's an opportunity for co-founders or founders to find other co-founders, those types of things. So as we're building community, it's really about people in the community showing up. So that's the one thing that you can do that would help us the most, I think. The second thing is we're creating a volunteer program. We'll probably get it out. I say we'll get it out in January. I hope. We need to, because we've had a lot of people, you know, we run a space now and it's just Craig and I. And so if we're not there, it's not open.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times we just need folks who are planning on, it's a public workspace. So hey, just tell us when you're going to be there. So, and you know,
I could be down for that. It's a really great like the location is cool, by the by, like lots of space to spread out. It's got that nice stage. It's got, you have some of the workplaces over on the other side. Like it's very cool.
Yeah,
Definitely check it out.
Getting ready to amp the cool factor too in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We're actually got some things planned for that Wednesday that'll amp up the cool factor in the space too. So it'll be a place where more people want to hang out during the day, do the work, that kind of thing.
Very
Not
cool.
co-working, public workspace, very different.
Yeah.
So those are the two big things. Like we'll look out for our volunteer program. And then the second one is just show up on Wednesdays, show up. We have a new program, not a new program. It's our second year of the Social Venture Studio. Applications are open. So we should definitely talk
wait a
about
minute,
that
one.
one.
We gotta backtrack on that one. What
All
is
right.
Social Venture Studio?
Sure. So if you're familiar, and we got a new program that launches next week, we should talk about too.
Good Lord, Kevin.
So accelerator programs have always been targeted at what we would call our high growth entrepreneurs, venture backable companies, right? And because accelerator programs, which are time-bound programs to help accelerate a startup in a 3-month window, all of those resources have really been focused on those. They've been deal flow for VCs for years. So why don't we take that same principle and provide those same resources, mentoring, space, partnerships, non-dilutive grant funding. Why don't we take all those same principles and apply those to social entrepreneurs, social ventures, people who have mission, social impact at the center of their business, but they have a business model. A lot of times these will be nonprofits that might have trouble scaling because they're suffering from what we all know as grant starvation. And they need to be treated as a business to help them scale their business model so they have a sustainable means of revenue. Could be a for-profit business that is trying to center more squarely on what their social impact or their social purpose is and maybe move the other direction. How do you build governance around that? Yeah. So with the support of Father Justin over at Reconciliation Services in Thelma's Kitchen, who was kind of one of the founding ideas around this. Yeah. Jim Erickson,
Jackie Erickson has, or she's helping, right? Jacqueline Erickson. Am I crazy?
Jacqueline Erickson Russell. Yeah, she is helping out. She is our kind of our managing lead for the Social Venture Studio. We ran one cohort in 2022. Yeah. We received funding from the Sunderland Foundation, a generous grant to be able to bring this program to life. The EDC, it's part of the Launch KC umbrella, so the Economic Development Council of Kansas City and Downtown Council. Yeah. So yeah, all of those groups came together to really create the Social Venture Studio, and we're just glad to be able to do the programming for it. Yeah. And try to create a really more exponential impact in Kansas City around social entrepreneurs.
Honestly, and like so one of the things that we hear from our members time and time again, and a lot of our members are engaged in social entrepreneurship business model. You know, yes, we want to make profit. Yes, we might have products, but at the same time, like the core of what we do is to make the world better in our own little pocket and through our own tactics and lens. So just as like a frame of reference for you, some of the innovators, because a bunch of innovators took place and it took part in the first year cohort. Sure. There was the Prospect, Sure Show. So, well, wait. So that was Shanita Bryant.
Chef Shanita, yeah.
So we had Dr. Shelley Cooper. She's one of our members. And It used to be Sure Show, and I'm totally
Come on now. Come on now.
Diversity
Diversity
telehealth. I was getting there. I promise. Diversity telehealth went through. So Max Canager, he's always been a good friend of ours with Canby's Markets.
Natasha Kirsch.
Natasha Kirsch with Positivity. And I mean, if you look at these businesses, every single one of them is operating from a viable business model, but they're doing an extraordinary amount of good in our community. And it's really excited to not just see these organizations get some of the support that they need, but also to see them have the opportunity to work together, to engage, get that capital, non-dilutive equity. You know, it's really it's a beautiful thing. So well done, sir. And tip of the hat to you as well, Father Justin, because I know that
Team
you
sport.
two were kind of
Team sport,
tag
for
teaming
sure.
on it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But no, it's a really gorgeous thing to watch. Is there anything else that you want to tell us that you haven't shared about Keystone or Social Venture Studio or sessions, any of the cool stuff you're doing? You're doing such cool stuff.
We have one more program that's starting up next week. We have one more program that's starting up next week. It's called the Keystone Angel Accelerator. And so this same premise of how do we take an accelerator model and apply it to something that it hasn't typically been applied to. And this is first-time angel investors.
Yeah.
Angel investors are kind of at the core of, you know, kind of the early stage startup community. And we don't have enough of them in Kansas City. No community has enough of them, really. So how can we educate new angels? How can we create a more diverse and active set of angel investors in Kansas City? How can we create that cohort with the underpinnings of social venture, social entrepreneurship as kind of their understanding of social impact investing? So this is it's a 6-week free program that'll be followed by a 12-week paid program. And at the end of it, they will drop into a new angel network in Kansas City. So that starts the 6-week free part starts next Tuesday. And it'll be every week for 6 weeks. And then we'll start the paid program after that. Excited about that.
That is so, like, there are so many things that I've wanted to like drill down on, and I'm like, at some point we have to leave. You know, we got jobs, but you know, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
and if we're going to make sure to drop all of the links and all of the relevant information. Our voice of goddess executive producer over here has been well, working her tail off as she always does, but we're going to drop some links in the comments for you to check out some of these programs because they're really incredible. As far as what we have coming up with Ihkc, we do actually we have a like I decided to just kill myself in January. I'm like, this is crazy. So tomorrow, actually, we have Perfect Your Pitch. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about where that came from. So when we were in the middle of the pandemic, we took our monthly meetups virtual, and I always issued a challenge to our members. And I would say, hey, we're going to do a round robin, explain who you are, but you get 2 sentences. And very, very few people could do it.
It's hard.
It is really hard, but we're going to find, so together tomorrow night, we are going to find ways to succinctly and clearly introduce yourself, your elevator pitch, if you will, a personal one and a professional one. So the next time you're in a job interview and someone says, tell us about yourself, you're not going to be like, You'll actually have something to say. And then the next time you're interviewed on a podcast about what you do, you're going to be able to very, very clearly and in an engaging way tell people about what your company does and why. So that is what we will walk away with. But that is tomorrow. I think it starts at 5. Don't quote me on that. Yes, Cynthia's nodding. Okay, good. I am terrible with times and dates. Forgive me. But yes, that starts at 5 o'clock tomorrow. Perfect Your Pitch. We've got the Living History of Women coming up on the 25th. We're going to be the 6 o'clock session, but I definitely encourage you to check out the 5 and 7 o'clock sessions as well. I love that you're like helping
I'm just trying to narrate
us here. That's really exciting to me. So that's what we have coming up. And then we do have our monthly meetup next month is going to be on February 7th. Ooh, look at me. And that'll be at 8:30 a.m. It's going to be, nope. Just kidding. It's our happy hour. So it'll start at, no, isn't it with coffee? Did we do happy hour last time? Oh, Lord.
Happy hour at 8:30.
Okay. So happy hour at 8:30. It's always, 5 o'clock somewhere. But we're actually going to be at the AI Hub, which is in honor of Black History Month. It's going to be a Black-owned creative agency studio and co-working space. We're going to check that out, do some tours, and get to hang. So keep an eye out for details on that as well. Now, speaking of Black History Month, I do, and I actually meant to do this at the top of the 45 or the hour or whatever, and I forgot, but I do want to wish you all a happy Martin Luther King Day. And Cynthia was kind enough to provide us with some quotes. So I'm going to pick the one that I like the best. And actually, the last one is the one that resonated with me, and I'm going to explain why. The question is not whether we will be extremists, but what kind of extremists we will be. The nation and the world are in dire need of creative extremists. Now, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., an amazing human being, has this reputation, particularly amongst certain circles. He's been very vanilla-ized, I think. People are like, he was so peaceful, and like he was, and all of that is true. Peaceful civil disobedience was kind of his earmark, but he was an extremist in his time. And so I invite all of you to be extremists as well. And it's something that Innovate Ihkc endeavors to do. Don't be afraid to speak out and speak up when you see injustice. Don't be afraid to look to support from communities and people that don't look, think, and act like you. We invite you to do all of these things, but we know that you, as innovators, you have a dedication and a commitment to justice and fairness and equity. And so all we ask is that you continue to live by those principles, but not only that you act by them. So happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And that is what I have. Cynthia, do you have anything to add?
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share.
She's so good at that. Isn't she so good at that? She always remembers. I forget. But thanks for hanging with us, and we will catch you again in a couple weeks.